Okay, so Father's Day is over. It was great, but now it's time to get to work.
You're watching out for Daddy. Hey, that's my dad.
Hey there, welcome to Aphrodite. Here's the deal. On Aphrodite, we don't shy away from hard conversations. We talk about race and gender and feminism and the patriarchy and the good and terrible and scary and crazy parts about parenting and life. And we do that so that we can understand those things better so that we can talk to our kids about them. It's critical that we understand these big issues so that when we're raising our children, they don't have to deal with the nonsense that we're dealing with now. Now, the last few weeks, and actually this whole year, have been pretty hectic and very difficult and terrible for a lot of people. And pretty much all of us have struggled in some way, shape, or form. Which is why I kind of decided to take it a little bit easy on the heaviness on Aphrodite because, well, you're getting it everywhere else, right? Oh, I have spoken about these issues either on my personal social media pages or on other platforms like the Great Equalizer podcast, where we had a really good conversation about white privilege and race and power dynamics in society. And I think it might be a good idea for you to listen to that to really get an understanding of what I think about those issues and to continue that conversation that needs to be had. Plus, you should just subscribe to the Great Equalizer podcast because those ladies have great conversations every week about parenting in a very non-judgmental way. It's a good podcast. I'll put a link to it in the description below. So the reality is, with all of those conversations that have been going on, plus just the hecticness of life, having those big conversations on Aphrodite would have just been way too emotionally draining. The reality is, doing these kinds of videos takes a lot out of content creators. And if you do follow someone who is willing to open up themselves to this sort of conversation, you should thank them. Don't thank me. Thank the other people who do this kind of stuff. That all being said, it is the week after Father's Day, which means we have a whole extra year to do all the work that is needed to be done as a father. It's a whole year of earning the right to celebrate Father's Day next year. The work starts again right now. And a big part of that work is understanding gender and masculinity and toxic masculinity and the patriarchy and misogyny, because we need to understand that both as moms and dads, because we need to help train our sons to not be the worst kind of men that we're seeing at the moment. Look, not a week goes by where we don't see multiple stories of gender-based violence. It is happening all over, not just this country, but the world. And I don't think that what I'm going to be talking about right now will solve everything, but I do think that this is a big problem that we as parents, and especially dads, can solve. But again, to solve it, we need to have the conversation ourselves and we have to interrogate our own feelings about the matter so that we can have a better understanding. So that when we're teaching our children about this, especially our boys, we know what's up. We've done the hard work for them because that's what parenting is, right? It's doing the hard work for your kids so that they don't have to do it 30 years down the line. And if it seems to you like I'm stalling to get to the main point of this video, you're probably right. I have a little bit of trepidation talking about this because the backlash on stuff like this is so severe sometimes, but I'm hoping that this community is thoughtful and kind and generous. You know what? No, scratch that. I'm not hopeful. I know that this community is all of those things and that we can have a deep and meaningful conversation that moves us forward. Okay, here we go. I think that one of the leading forces that has created this world where gender-based violence is so prevalent, where women feel unsafe, not just walking down the street, but even in their own home, where women are treated unfairly and unkindly everywhere, is the idea that men can lose their man card. Is that what you were expecting? Sounds kind of silly, right? Like it's something that we joke about all the time and it's something that we see often in film and TV. It's kind of like when someone isn't acting in the way a man should be acting, oh, we're taking away your man card. But think about what that actually means. That means that if you're a man, you can lose your manhood. Your whole gender, this big part of your identity can just disappear because some other guy thinks that you're not acting in the way that he thinks a man should act. And this is something that I think women don't really understand or necessarily go through to the same extent. It is crazy how easy it is for a man to lose his manhood, to lose his man card, to not be seen as masculine. When you're younger, it can be using the wrong color crayon, or it can be the kind of sport you choose to play, or it can be the fact that you like to get your hair done in a certain way, or that you don't like to play certain sports, or that you don't want to get hurt, or that you like a certain kind of music, or art, or the way you speak, or the way you sneeze, or anything, literally anything, can be the cause of you losing your gender. That's the kind of world that men walk around in all the time. Isn't that crazy? And please, I don't want you thinking that I'm saying that we should be like, oh, poor men, shame, let's give them a break. I'm not saying that at all. The main perpetrators of this are other men. But this is why it should be important to both men and women. You see, if you can lose a man card, that means that you can also earn a man card. It's something that you have gained. And we see this in pretty much all cultures, right? Whether it's like a standardized initiation that boys have to go through, and when they do it, they come back and they're men, or whether it's just a series of culturally and socially appropriate adventures that boys have to go through. Sometimes schools even force boys to like climb up a mountain. They have to climb up a mountain, a boy, and then they come down a mountain, a man. That's nuts, because you have earned the gender that you just should inherently have. And I think, and I stand to be corrected, so please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think women do experience this to some extent, where you have certain things that you do to become more of a woman. But I still think women are on the scale. You can be more or less of a woman, but you're always a woman. A man can cease to be a man. Again, you might be saying, shame, poor men, they have to go through a bit of initiation, they have to do some stuff to make themselves feel whole. Do you have any idea what girls and women go through? That is a valid thing to say, but here's where it comes full circle, because if you haven't lost your manhood, if you've gone through that process of achieving manhood and achieving your masculinity, that comes with certain rights, or at least that's what men think. Because if I've done the work, if I've climbed the hill, if I have drunk enough beers, if I have played the right kinds of sports, if I've done the right kind of course and definitely had enough sex with enough women, and I've shown that I'm a man, I should be allowed to behave in whatever way I like. I should be allowed to do whatever I like. I should be allowed to treat people in any way I like, because I'm a man. And this is important because we all know men who get just irrationally angry when their manhood is called into question. And they get that way because they feel that they are owed the rights that come with being a man because they've earned it. And if boys have to go through tasks to earn manhood, that means that things that aren't earned, other genders that aren't earned, are of less value. So if we're saying that womanhood is just inherent and this is something that girls just naturally become women, that means that womanhood has less value than manhood in these men's eyes. And that's why one of the biggest ways to insult a man, which we see all the time, is that he throws like a girl. So can you see how damaging it is when we uplift one kind of masculinity? We degrade everyone else, and we basically tell these people up here, the men who've earned their manhood, that they can do whatever they like. They've earned it. And oh my word, you better fight to keep your status. You better get angry and get upset because you do not want to become like the people down here. Look, this is a very complicated subject and I'm not well versed in this at all. I just know what my experience has been like and what I've seen going to an all-boys school and having men friends and behaving in these ways myself. And now that I have two boys that I'm raising, I'm desperate not to do the same thing for them. But I feel it inside me every time they cry over stubbing their toe or of a little scratch or a little hurt or just because they're upset. There's a thing deep down inside that says, stop crying, man up. So there it is. Aphrodite is a misogynist. It's true. But that is why I need to have these conversations. That's why I need to think these things through, because I don't want my boys to feel that thing that I feel inside when they are raising sons one day. I need to do this work, and I need to do it now. The fact is, if you're a father to boys, and actually even a mother to boys, you have to be careful about what you're telling them about gender and about manhood. And not even just what you're telling them. Nonverbal cues can be as insightful and educational as the things you are actually telling them. So that means it's totally possible for you to say something you don't believe and for your kids to pick up something completely different. And you might say, well, we told them differently, we raised them differently. But if you still feel like that, and if you still have those beliefs deep down inside of you that you have not worked through yourself as a father, it's gonna come out. You gotta do the work so that your kids don't have to. And look, like I've said in so many videos before, this doesn't mean that you don't have to be a stereotypical man. It doesn't mean that you can't like sports or drinking lots of beer or farting and burping or whatever you think manhood is. You can be it and do it as long as you're not hurting other people. The real problems come when you think that doing all those things, achieving your manhood in that way, elevates you above other people. That it puts you above men who maybe haven't achieved those things or who do those things or behave in those ways. Whether it elevates you above people who have other sexualities, whether it elevates you above women, and whether or not doing all of those things allows you to behave in ways that harms other people. If you think that your idea of masculinity allows you to hurt and harm others, that is not real masculinity. So look, this has been a bit of a heavy video. It's a heavy subject with real world consequences for at least half the population. So I usually like to end videos off with a bit of lightness, levity, to kind of end off in a bright way. But I'm not going to do that today. And I'm not going to end off by asking you to subscribe or go to the website or whatever that I normally do. What I am going to do is ask this. If you're a man, can I ask you to take an hour out of one of your days, spend some time by yourself with no distractions, and really ask yourself this question: is my thoughts about masculinity and gender harmful to people around me? And if the answer is even a fraction of a yes, that is something you need to work on, not just for you, but for your kids and for mine. Thanks so much for watching this video. I'll catch you soon. Aphrodite out.